Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Coach Krisler's Convos. If you are new here, this is a just a open conversation with our guests about how they have come through their health crisis, or maybe just on a general overall health journey with using functional medicine and how that's really worked for them, what that's looked like in their life. Today, I am joined by a new friend. Her name is Yolanda. Hello, Yolanda. How are you?
Hi, Coach. Yes, I am so excited to be here and just, doing wonderful being here in the new year. Looking forward to just what this new year will bring. So I'm excited to be here and share my story here with you and with
Yes,
the
thank
audience.
you. Thank you for joining us. So before we get to talking specifically about your health journey, tell us a little bit about who you are, where you are from, and what you do.
Okay. So my name is Yolanda Dietrich, and I live in Lakewood, California, Southern California, which it's always usually beautiful weather, although we've had quite a few rains here recently, so we're not used to that. But I married almost 20 years. I have a 14-year-old son. That is a whole story there. I'll share about my health journey just to how my son came to be too, because that was a struggle.
Mhm.
But I am a very, very grateful to have just my beautiful little family. I have a dog, and I am a health coach, patient advocate for those that are suffering with psoriasis and Hashimotos. So that's my focus, because that's been the struggle for me.
Mhm.
So that's what I love to help people with.
Awesome. I know so many times when I'm talking to health coaches, doctors, nurses, chiropractors, the reason why they started or the area of focus that they are in has to do with their personal story or a personal connection with that particular group or issue. So yeah, same with me as well. I have a love for working with working moms, and it's because I'm a working mom and I had many struggles related to that. So so tell us a little bit about why you became a health coach.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's a really long story, but I'm going to try to shorten as much as possible. But I mean, really the main reason is because I realized that our traditional medicine does not give us all the answers. And
Mhm.
I would have loved, honestly, I would have loved to come back and become a naturopathic doctor, functional doctor, because I realized that they truly have the answers to help somebody with a chronic issue.
Mhm.
And so what I was going through was all these different chronic issues that I did not know, doctors could not tell me. I mentioned that I work with people with psoriasis and Hashimoto's. Psoriasis, I was diagnosed in my early 20s. And
Mhm.
that, was obvious because it's a visible chronic issue, which,
Right.
mind you, I was never told it was an autoimmune condition.
Mm.
So that plays into why I wanted to just help other people. But for many years, literally probably 10 years, did not even realize I was using topical steroids to help with. I didn't really have my psoriasis wasn't really severe.
Mhm.
So never really looked into how to help myself, other than I did work for almost 20 years in the nutritional supplement industry. So
Mhm.
I'm really well versed with herbs and different supplements to help your body to live its best. So I was doing a lot of those things. Like I was drinking green drinks and kombucha
Mhm.
way before it became a fad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I realized that, what helps your body.
Mhm.
So
So you
anyway,
were already sort of in that mindset of
yeah,
trying to do things that were really fueling your body and helping you.
yes, yes. And then also I come from a background, I'm Hispanic in background. My mother's from Mexico. And when we were growing up, I remember we would always go to the botanical stores. They would sell like the little herbs, and she would make tea. So I grew up kind of already understanding that herbs really help. And so then when I realized, when I started having more issues, and it actually started with me trying to get pregnant. That's why I mentioned earlier that just my son was quite an ordeal. I was married very young at that time and ended up going through a divorce. But then when I remarried, and I remarried my soulmate, we started trying to get pregnant, and lo and behold, still no, couldn't get pregnant. And so then we went and went to a specialist. I did in vitro for my son and was very fortunate to get pregnant. But I did not realize, and they told me, because they had to do a whole panel of all my blood work, that I had really high antibodies. Now, mind you, I wasn't, I didn't understand what that all meant. I was just focused on getting pregnant, which I did, and then became a new mom. And, all that goes with being a new mom, as you very well know.
Yes.
Just lost and trying to just get everything figured out. A few years after that, and I was very fortunate to stay home. I was a stay-at-home mom for almost 10 years with my son. And something that really, really just opened my eyes was I was watching Dr. Oz, and I watched Dr. Oz at that time almost every day. Because I just love everything health, holistic health, whatever helps your body. Because I knew about my psoriasis, I still did not know that it was an autoimmune condition. Of course, I didn't look it up either.
Yeah,
I was just always told it's hereditary, and it's just your your skin is multiplying way faster than the normal person. And so this is kind of what's in my mind. Well, on an episode with Dr. Oz, it was a situation where a mother was trying to help her son. And they found out that their son had leaky gut. Back in, my son was born in 2008. And still leaky gut was not a typical term. Now you hear it everywhere, right?
Often. Yeah.
But then it was like, what is that? I asked my doctor, they're like, oh no, that's, nobody can tell me. And I just did a lot of my own research. I found the work of this chiropractor, Dr. John, it's the late Dr. John Pagano, and he wrote a book a while back about healing your psoriasis naturally. And so I went through his whole protocol completely, because I was also getting some flare-ups after my the birth of my son. Things are changing. I was actually already in my 40s at that time, so a lot of things are changing in me.
Yeah.
And so after that, I completely, almost 95% cleared my psoriasis, because I had gone through this major flare-up. So not only that happened, but then I had a friend who recommended me going to this acupuncturist, who specialized in autoimmune conditions. Because then this is what I realized, that psoriasis is an autoimmune condition. Hope it's a whole world to me.
Yep, it sure does.
Isn't it? And so anyway, so when I went to this acupuncturist, she asked me to bring any blood work that I had. And anyway, long story short, those antibodies, going back to those antibodies, did not know that more than likely meant that I had an autoimmune condition that was affecting me in a different way. So I went to an endocrinologist. They verified that it was Hashimoto's. I had them test me. And here's the crazy thing. And this is when it all just lit up for me. I'm like, I need to tell people about this. When I asked the endocrinologist, why was not this tested before? Wasn't my antibodies tested? She said, it's not a standard test. When people come in for their full just their annual, their regular blood
work,
all of that, for the thyroid, they just test your TSH, unless you're having major issues. Mind you, I was not overweight like the typical Hashimoto's symptoms. I was not overweight. My hair wasn't falling. I wasn't super tired. None of that. I didn't fall into that criteria. However, the infertility, that's another story.
Right.
Because lo and behold, I found out that that's more than likely what was affecting me trying to get pregnant.
Yeah.
And so I got the official diagnosis of Hashimoto's, and a year later, I became I was hypothyroidism, so low thyroid. I had to now start getting on medication. When I went back to
Isn't it interesting that it wasn't until you received a diagnosis that now we can do something, right? With functional medicine and naturopathic medicine, as soon as you begin the investigation, right, you're constantly doing something, right? You're constantly investigating, you're constantly trying, you're constantly tweaking, changing, applying things, creating these habits. Whereas in conventional medicine, they search for something, they give you a diagnosis, and then that's when the treatment begins.
Right. And when I was first diagnosed with the Hashimoto's and I asked, oh, what can I do? They said, nothing. We just have to make sure that, your thyroid levels, your TSH levels are normal. That's all. They were always normal. And so why is it the very next year, all of a sudden I'm hypothyroid and now I got to get on medication. And I hate medication because as I mentioned before, we did not grow up on medication. I didn't want to be one of those people that had to take a medication.
Right.
So that's why even for my psoriasis, when I started getting those bad flare-ups where it covered pretty much almost all my body, I had on my face. That's when I'm like, okay, I got to do something about this. Something
else interesting I find with many people's stories is that there are signs early on, and those signs really aren't taken seriously, or they're not investigated. You mentioned that you had psoriasis in your 20s. Well, when we're young, that's when we're supposed to be the healthiest. Our skin is supposed to be clear. We're supposed to have the most energy, all those types of things. We're supposed to sleep the best. And yet, as a young woman, you're dealing with a very clear issue, right? Something's going on in your body where your skin is like, help, help, help. And yet that wasn't really enough of a sign for someone to move forward with, further investigation, at least in conventional medicine.
Right. Well, because I was going to a dermatologist, and this is what later I've learned is that these doctors, when they go to medical school, they learn about their particular, area of specialty, dermatology, skin. They're not learning about gut. They're not learning about anything else. And nutrition is very, not, they don't really learn a lot about nutrition as well. And so after that diagnosis of my hypothyroidism, that's when I decided I need to go and find another type of doctor, And I was very fortunate. I was able to find an endocrinologist who also practiced functional medicine. And oh my goodness, they did the blood work and found out all these different deficiencies, my vitamin B12 levels. I had a very high past Epstein-Barr virus too.
Wow.
Is a trigger to psoriasis as well. Now, it wasn't active anymore, that the viral load, but it's something that probably played a big part in my early 20s, right? And, it wasn't tested, and it's not something that gets tested. But functional medicine, so this doctor, and then the other thing was so amazing is that when I would go to regular doctors, right, you're in there for what, 5 minutes, maybe 10 max. I literally spent an hour and a half with this doctor.
Yeah.
And it was just the most beautiful thing to understand just the concept of when you're dealing with a chronic issue, you have to see the whole picture.
Right.
Not just your blood work, not
Mhm.
just, everything, that whole
Yeah,
mind, body, soul, right?
absolutely, right? So you mentioned this or alluded to this when you were talking about seeing the dermatologist, where they were really focusing only on your skin. However, your skin is attached to the rest of you, right?
Right. Right.
So just because you might be demonstrating something through your skin doesn't mean that there's nothing else going on, right? Our whole bodies are attached. We're not these separate, unattached pieces, right? We're one whole system. And so that's really important for people to understand, that when you are seeking out somebody who is trained in functional medicine or uses that in their practice, that they're going to be examining all the things about you. And then something else I think that you're mentioned with your endocrinologist, that even though they're an endocrinologist, they practice functional medicine. I want to make sure people understand that functional medicine is not a medical specialty. It
Right.
is a way of practicing medicine. And it's root cause medicine. So there's functional medicine oncologists, there's functional medicine gynecologists, there's functional medicine general practitioners, endocrinologists, a variety of medical specialties that are practiced in this way. So it's really cool that you were able to find an endocrinologist that, used functional medicine as their basis of their practice.
Yes, I was very grateful to find her, and she's actually the one that told me about the functional medicine coaching academy.
Uh-huh.
And so back to that question about why I became a health coach, is that when she shared that with me, I said, that is definitely my passion and I really want to help others. And
Yeah.
so I looked into the program and I became a certified health coach. And then I'm board certified as well. And so that's it's taken me to a different journey of passion,
Mhm.
of understanding that, when you have a chronic issue, a conventional doctor really can't help. They
Yeah.
can help for those acute, if you're having a heart attack, or if you're having,
Right.
major trauma, or, whatever, they're there for. I'm not putting down the medical field in that sense, but
Mm.
but just to understand, for people to understand that they don't understand that whole root cause,
Mhm.
as you were mentioning, as in functional medicine.
Yeah.
And I guess I knew enough to know that, okay, I needed to go to a different direction. I was very,
Mhm.
like I said. And so they've worked with me, I went through different protocols, elimination diets. I did find out I had a high sensitivity to gluten and dairy.
Mhm.
I already knew I already had removed dairy actually in my mid-30s, because I became gluten intolerant. That is very obvious
Mhm.
when
Yeah.
that happens. But I kind of had an idea about the gluten, but at the same time, I just was not sure if I wanted to get rid of gluten just yet.
Yeah.
I was in denial. I was like that alcoholic that, didn't want to, like, yes.
Yeah.
And so I finally did, and I've been
And
gluten
gluten
free.
is a difficult one because it's in everything.
It is.
So many foods it's
Yeah.
in. So yeah, it can be difficult for folks to eliminate that.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
now it's so much easier though, with a lot of foods and companies that are striving to provide, gluten-free products now.
Mhm.
Before, when I first was learned about that, it was not very minimal, very
Mhm.
minimal. And
Yeah.
now, and I like to make my own stuff too. I went through a culinary nutrition school as well, and became a culinary nutrition expert, as they call it.
Mhm.
and just being able to provide my culinary skills with my nutrition, because
Mhm.
I realized that that's how I can help people. I might not be a doctor. I'm not going to diagnose you, but I can help how to cook up really delicious meals that are gluten-free and dairy-free and sometimes even grain-free. Because I had I also, one of my recent tests that I'd done, I did have mycotoxins, which is from mold, and
Mm.
likely from certain foods. It wasn't an environmental mold, but there are a lot of different foods, a lot of grains, like corn can have a lot of mold.
Mhm.
But when you dig deeper, it's really interesting. I mean, it opens up a whole can of worms when you get deeper into
Yes.
specific testing, because there's a lot of factors that can go into that autoimmune condition. I always call it is that perfect storm, right?
Yeah.
You have that predisposition genetically, but it doesn't mean that you're going to have that autoimmune condition.
Right.
However, if you add toxins from our environment, heavy
Mhm.
metals, um, of course, the foods and pesticides and everything that our food now
Mhm.
has. And then the last piece, and this is the last piece that I wanted to share, was the emotional part,
Mm.
mental health, emotional, because this was the last piece of my journey. This last year, I have two functional doctors, and the other one that I'm so grateful to have two functional doctors I work with. And he talked to me about my journey, my past,
Mhm.
and because I felt like I came to a plateau in my
Right.
healing. Like most of my psoriasis is still, I'm not 100% clear. My Hashimoto's is pretty much in remission, but it sometimes can flare up. And so I felt like I hit a plateau.
Mhm.
And he guided me to dig deeper in my emotional, um, my background,
Mhm.
dealing with grief, dealing with that
Mhm.
divorce, dealing with a lot of my youth of things that happened to me. And it just opened up a whole other can of worms, which really helped me get to that place of letting go, because I was always in control.
Mm.
I
Mhm.
and this is where that conversation started from, is that I always feel like I have to be in control.
Mhm.
And he's not a therapist, but I felt like we had this therapy session. And he wanted me to dig back, like where did
Mhm.
it come from? And it's been bringing a lot of healing. And I realized, and as I've been digging into that, and I went to this emotional release event that this doctor, he actually left his practice. He's a functional doctor that left his traditional practice to work with just emotional release,
Mhm.
dealing with emotional trauma, and little trauma and big trauma, they call it. And
Yeah.
I don't have like necessarily a lot of big traumas, but all these little traumas.
Right.
It's
Right. That add up.
They add up. And
Mhm.
and I'm one of those people. I'm the oldest in my family. I didn't grow up with a father. I always had to just push through, be a survivor, take care of everybody else, except
Right.
for myself. And as
Right.
women are, us, especially moms, we take care of everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, when you were talking, I was thinking about the functional medicine matrix that we're trained on, and, how that centerpiece is the mental, emotional, spiritual.
Mhm.
And it's really important for people to recognize that our physical health and our mental health are connected, right? You cannot separate physical and mental health. And I think for so many years we've done that really to a disservice to ourselves. We've separated those two pieces when they really are very much connected. And if you're not addressing the emotional, if you're not addressing the mental, if you're not addressing the spiritual, then you're going to find yourself dealing with some serious physical health issues. And the longer it goes, the worse it likely is to be. So good for you for, listening and being receptive to what that doctor was suggesting. it takes a lot of work to dig into that. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and really being willing to continue that investigation and to go through that healing process. So kudos to you for your willingness to do that. I can totally tell by your disposition that it benefited you greatly.
Yes, I'm very grateful for that.
Mhm.
It's still something that's in process, and I think as human beings, I mean, we will continually go through just healing, because we all go through a lot.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean that you get to a point you're like, okay, I'm done. And
Right.
those
Yeah, good.
and those in my area of autoimmune condition, because even though we can reverse things and we can go into
Mhm.
remission, it's never considered, you can never say you've cured.
Mhm.
So we can't say we cure, or or any functional doctor for that matter, they can't say that there's a cure for these autoimmune conditions, but they can certainly go into remission. But I think it's a learning, and I've been very grateful. And I think in my spiritual journey, that's what shifted for me, is that mindset.
Mhm.
I am grateful. I mean, I heard this, it was a podcaster, she had shared about, she was very grateful for her psoriasis because they told her something was not right. And
Mhm.
shifted that,
Yeah.
instead of like wishing it away. It's like, why is me? Why do I have to deal with this? And what have you. I'm in a place of, I am grateful. And whenever I start getting maybe a little flare up, I just know it's like, okay, body. Okay, I
Yeah.
know you're telling me something. I need to
Yeah. Something's going
either,
on.
because a lot, my trigger now is stress. It's
Yeah.
not so much because I'm eating well. I eat pretty much clean. I mean, there might be one day here that maybe I'll have maybe a little extra sugar, especially during the holidays.
Yes, that can be rough.
I'm like, okay, I gotta tone down on that sugar intake. Which is stuff that I usually bake, with
Mhm.
natural stuff, but still it's sugar.
Right.
Uh, and um, and then I just like, okay, just love myself. Thank you for
Mhm.
loving me and telling me. And I just thank my body.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
telling me this, because an autoimmune condition, I don't think I shared this, but you're always told that it's your body attacking itself.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, but why?
Right. Yeah. Let's dig in. Let's find out why.
Why is that? And so that's
Mhm.
where you get to those root causes. It's not because it is just, it's telling you something, and it's like, and it's giving you these alerts. Uh,
Mhm.
that's what we have to listen to, all of that.
Yeah.
Get into those meditations. I mean, that I do that daily. It's like a religion to me. I mean, I am a spiritual person already, but then I needed to bring the other kind of more lifestyle medicine,
Mhm.
yoga and meditation and breath work, because of my Hashimoto's and my low thyroid, we can tend to have more of an anxiety. And
Mhm.
I do. I'll get like that anxious feeling. It's like, okay, take a deep
Yeah.
breath and bring it in. And I know myself, and now I know um how to take care of myself when I'm in those
Mhm.
of anxiety and stress, so that it doesn't trigger something else.
Yeah. So I'm curious to know, um, you know, what is a something majorly different, or maybe it might be something you just recognize, it wasn't necessarily a major thing, but over time you recognize this change, this difference between how you felt before or what you were experiencing before, maybe outside of your psoriasis,
Mhm.
um, and what it's like now. Before, when you were not really sure what was going on, you knew something wasn't right, you were experiencing symptoms, and then today you're like, oh, this is so much better. What can you give me an example of something like that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because sometimes I can forget what it was before.
Hmm.
And it's important, especially as I'm helping somebody who's in the very beginning stages, for me to remember how I was then.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a great question. You know, I would say it's my mindset.
Hmm.
I was sharing a little earlier. That is what shifted for me because now that I know, especially when things are not diagnosed and you can feel like you're going crazy
Yeah.
or you're not, or why isn't there anything else? I mean, I knew about the psoriasis,
Hmm.
but like I told you, it was an autoimmune condition and it was the skin. So I never thought of it as anything internal,
Right.
right? That was, as far as a root cause. And so understanding that my body all these years has been really fighting for me.
Hmm.
And now that I have the tools, it's just amazing to feel that these are tools that are available to all of us.
Hmm.
Most of the tools to help us are not costly. Yes,
Yeah.
there are some that are, because if you want to do a lot of those that lab work, because a
Yes.
lot of it could be is out of pocket for functional medicine. But I was willing to do whatever. And I think anybody who is at a place where I was before, especially when you're not feeling well and you're just hitting that wall with doctors, you're willing to do whatever it takes to get to that place.
Hmm.
You're in that place, you're just so grateful. I don't know if you can't really see it, but here's my t-shirt.
Ah, yes, I love it.
Yeah. And I found this, I'm like, oh, I got to get like a few of these because I just love that, because that is what I live by. I
Hmm.
live with gratitude because I have tools, I have the knowledge, and I have a body that is fighting for me. And so
Hmm.
that was the shift in the mindset. Whereas before, I was just kind of like just trying to just live life, and your body adapts. I mean, our
Right.
bodies and our minds are amazing. They
Hmm.
adapt to work, whatever environment it is, and it tries to figure it out. But the fact that I was fortunate enough to find those root causes and the root cause to my issues and be able to have those tools really gave me just a new lease of life, I feel like.
Hmm.
Uh, and so that's kind of hope that answered the question. Now I kind of
Yeah.
figured out a question, but anyway.
Yeah. No, I believe, yeah, you did with mindset. It's very, very important to, have a clear understanding of what's going on and to really hone in on intentionality, what you're going to do, what you can do, what you don't really have control over, and move towards um, what's going to work for you. And it seems like you have really chosen the things that work for you, that benefit you, whether that be nutrition, whether that be cutting out certain things, whether that be listening to your body when things are shifting and changing. You told me earlier before we started recording that you knew you needed to get outside and you took a walk with your dog. That was something that you needed. You prioritized that and you did that. So just being intentional with knowing what you need, listening to your body, advocating for yourself when it's necessary. Yeah, absolutely. So I want to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about your son. You've mentioned that he has had some issues as well. Is this related to what you had mentioned earlier with, your struggles getting pregnant?
Yeah, it was mainly just us being able to get pregnant.
Hmm.
And and when I did get pregnant, because of those antibodies, they wanted to make sure that those antibodies wasn't going to attack the egg. So
Hmm.
when I was pregnant, I had to take shots of heparin, which is a blood thinner.
Yes.
And I did that for about 3 months. And sometimes it kind of sad. I mean, that's one area that sometimes saddens me, because I feel like if I would have known beforehand, not only I didn't have to go through all that, but then
Mhm.
able to provide an environment for my son in my womb that was not fighting.
Mhm.
And so even though he's not necessarily showing any issues, and he's going to have obviously predisposition with autoimmunity, since that now runs in my family. My
Mhm.
sister also at some point got diagnosed with fibromyalgia. She's a
Mhm.
breast cancer survivor as well. And my mother is diabetic. I mean, it was like all these things in my family. I'm like,
Yeah.
we gotta take ownership of, we can definitely make the change.
Mhm.
A lot of things that are in their environment, some, yeah, we can't control.
Right.
We can't go, I mean,
Yeah.
let's move somewhere, a blue, what do they call that? The blue states, or the blue,
Oh, the blue zones.
blue zones, thank you. The blue
Yes.
zones, maybe one day, I don't know, where everything is
Yeah.
perfect, organic, and lifestyle and everything is perfect. But because of that, we are gonna, be susceptible to a lot of different things. So I try to teach my son now, uh, to how to eat. He's a teenager right now, so
Yeah.
loves his sugar. He loves bread. He loves all the things that are not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I share with him, a lot of things that I hope one day will click and we'll switch for him and know how to take care of his body, because I don't know. Now, my husband, luckily, he doesn't have any immunity. His whole side of the family, great health. I just
That's awesome.
pray that. But the main thing was just being able to get pregnant, and then hoping to get pregnant again. And we weren't, and I didn't want to do in vitro again. I was already over 40 at this point. And not that I
Right.
was old, because even now I'm going to be turning 54. I don't feel old,
Yeah.
as I have this, like I said, a whole new lease in life, that I just have vitality now because of just the way that I live and the way that
Mhm.
is the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Long
Yeah. That's so awesome. And you are definitely planting seeds. You're watering them, you're giving them sunshine for your son. It's difficult with kids because they don't want to listen, or they don't want to hear it, or whatever. And they may go their own way. But I absolutely believe that you are doing your best, and you are planting those seeds in your son. You're giving him a great foundation. And he's taking it in. He definitely is. And I applaud you for, doing that, because there might be some people out there that would say, well, it's too hard because he is a teenager, right? But, I applaud you for standing your ground and doing what you can, and being an intentional with him, with, trying to teach him those sound foundational principles that are going to benefit him in the long run. So yeah, good job, Mama.
Yes, yes, we try, right? We try.
Yeah, we do. We try.
That's
Oh,
all.
goodness. Well, this has been such a great conversation. Very interesting information that you shared, with your journey and how you came to functional medicine. I so appreciate your time. If there's anybody out there that is wanting to maybe connect with you or learn a little bit more, where can they find you?
So right now I do a lot. I share a lot of my social media, both on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to be expanding more. YouTube is going to probably be my next, because I have a lot of videos that I've done in the past.
Mhm.
Thank you so much for showing me how your channel, which I love. But as far as my Instagram, you can find me at Yolanda underscore psoriasis. Oh no, sorry. Hold on a second. I changed it recently. Let me just make sure. Hold on a second.
Well,
It's
and I will drop everything in the description as well. So,
Yes, thank you. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So people can find you.
Yeah, so it's Yolanda underscore psoriasis dot nutrition.
Okay.
And for Facebook is Health to the Full. That was my original name, and that's actually
Mhm.
my domain, Health to the Full, because
Okay.
that is what I desired, is to help when you're dealing with an autoimmune condition, is that we can still have health to the full.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will drop that in the description. Again, thank you so much, Yolanda, for sharing your story. I know someone out there is definitely going to, it's going to resonate with them. So, and for all of you who are continuously checking in and watching Coach Krisler's Convos, I appreciate you so much. Don't forget to like this episode and subscribe to the channel so you get all the conversations. Until next time, I'll see ya. Bye.
Bye.